Disgusting.
Turn it off.
We're live now, by the way.
Oh,
How you
sorry.
doing?
I thought you were just being horrible to me.
What? Yeah, I was doing it on air. It's an energetic intro there. Should we start again?
Yeah.
Hey, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Good to see you as always. Yeah. Been a bit of a week. We were a bit late on the last one because you kept being ill, like a little flower.
I can't help it. I'm very delicate. I've got a very delicate immune system. Also, I work with children who, as you know, are like sponges for bacteria. It's absolutely disgusting, the filth that they traipse around with them. And they just throw it all up in my face every time I see them. And it's unavoidable. Like, I'm always infected.
I mean, I work with homeless drug addicts, Ben. So, you know, I'm going to win that one.
That's why all your hair's fallen out.
Probably.
Anyway, that intro has certainly, I think, set the foundation for the theme this evening, which is intelligence of the artificial kind. I think that you could probably get a much stronger intro using artificial intelligence nowadays. They could write the script, they could record the audio, but they wouldn't have the human quality of our natural.
We should have done that. We should have just like AI'd the entire show, or maybe you have.
They are rubbish. They're absolutely awful. I've used them a couple of times. The thing is, AI is.
Hold on, what have you used them for? Like
just
to have a chat, like for someone to talk
get lonely
to.
Sometimes.
Oh.
Just program a robot to say nice things to compliment my hair, what's left of it.
Well,
but that's actually before we delve any deeper, I would like to say that one of the problems that faces the modern generations with artificial intelligence is how it replaces human interaction and the human experience. There's a serious problem in Japan where they are developing this is everything that happened in the TV series Black Mirror by the brilliant Charlie Brooker has come to pass. It's like a documentary, that show. Thoroughly recommend it if anyone hasn't seen it. Black Mirror, very, very good. But one episode, it's about a woman who loses her partner in a car accident. And they use all of his social media profiles. They download all of the data. And they create an android that is programmed using his digital personality.
Wow.
Very, very, very good episode. What's happened is that actually exists now.
Well,
so I don't know if you've seen that. Are you going to talk about that at all?
No, I'm not a big Black Mirror fan. I have heard of chatbots that will like torture you like a dead person.
Yeah.
I think they've done it for like Einstein.
There's a lot of business in it. A lot of social media, social influencers are creating fake profiles using. In fact, I had a little play around with this myself because I was trying to make some video models for the T-shirts that I sell. Oh, we didn't do any promo at the beginning, by the way. We'll have to do it at the end now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I found a tutorial on how you can just steal videos off existing influencers and use like face merge AI to just put anyone's. Like I could put my face on the body of a beautiful 21-year-old athlete.
A male or a female?
You wouldn't know the difference because that's what I look like anyway. But a female or a male, it doesn't matter. But the point is...
I'd have a go. I'd be so annoying having sex with you. Oh, you'd hate it.
You can't imagine a female version of you. That's absolutely against humanity. But yes, in Japan, they've got this like tiered system where you start texting or Snapchat or whatever social media platform. You start chatting with this girl. Or boy, but it's usually a girl, and you get data off of you that allows the chatbot to become more responsive and more realistic, etc., etc. And you unlock different tiers of the service. So you can at some point get pornography based on your description of the woman that you get to describe who it is that you're communicating with.
Wow.
And they have a social media profile, they have a social media presence. And yeah, eventually the idea is that they're moving in the direction of porn. Because what was it called? The face swapping tech.
Deep fake.
Deep fake, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that more in a moment. But,
great. Porn is on the menu.
Yep.
Excellent.
AI porn. There's no way that it's not going to... I mean, that's the first thing that happens in any kind of advancement in technology. It's like the printing press, the Gutenberg press. It's like, I've made written versions of the Bible. And everyone's like, yeah. Let me see some tits. But, you know what you made it for.
But, I always talk to Sharon about our subjects that we're going to talk about on the pod. And her answer, because we're often searching for an answer, and it's often someone to blame, isn't it, that we're looking for.
Well, it's not my fault.
Well, she says every single time, patriarchy. And again, I don't think she's wrong on this one. Someone invents a tool that could be used for so much good. And the Japanese are already creating high-spec sex robots.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's like the first wall paintings in caves from the Neanderthals, Everybody thinks that they would like leaving notes about the best places to hunt. I guarantee the first person who dipped their finger in whatever they were using for ink just drew a big pair of jugs on the wall, and they all just laughed together. And
And nothing has changed.
Yeah, millions of years later, here we are. But that's the digital revolution taking us to new, more realistic, ratioed jugs. Much better than the ones on the wall paintings. Yeah. What have you got? Do you want to throw your AI discoveries from your research into the ring, the digital ring?
Well, I was going to go way back just briefly, because looking at AI and learning a bit about it, because to be honest, I'm not that bothered by AI at the minute. I've used it to help me with a couple of written pieces. I say used it to help me. I asked it to write something and it did it, and it was really good. So I just used that. But other than that, it's not massively affected me. But I did have a little look into it. And did you know the ancient Greeks had ideas about AI?
In what sense?
Well,
because I did know that, but what do you mean?
Well, the Bronze Man. Are you aware of this? So, am I nicking one of your subjects?
Not really, not completely. No, go on.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we can both talk about it. But I just thought it was quite interesting that the ancient Greeks, who were known for their thinking, I mean, all they did was think and fuck, really, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but
they're very good at it.
As soon as they got good at being humans and thinking, the next step for them was to think, we could get a machine to do this better. And they started coming up, one of the ideas was a bronze man. And I assume it's bronze because they hadn't invented aluminium or fiberglass or real effect fake skin as the Japanese have. But it was the idea was a robot that could think like a human. And so this AI is not a new thing, is it?
Yeah, that's interesting because that kind of, it's not quite what I was going to mention, but it does overlap slightly, and it is about conceptualizing. Well, okay, I'm not going to go too far into it because it's a whole different. I don't want to take you off of your tangent, but yeah, or what you could say, what you're referencing is how we automize things. Automation of and that's always been in every revolution. This is something that I find interesting about AI, is that every technological revolution that we've had be it the Industrial Revolution or more recently the Digital Revolution, the technology has been designed to solve a problem. But I don't think that you can necessarily say that about AI. I think it's presented as doing that, but really the problem is not. So with the Industrial Revolution, you want to make more things, and you want to make them faster. And that was the problem, and the solution was machinery and mechanical machines. Now we want to make whatever. Well, what do we want to do with AI? We want to do less, I think, as humans. I don't want to write this blog post. I want a simulation to do it for me.
Is it we want to have to think less?
But this is what I mean. Is that a problem? It's not a problem, is it? We're not solving a problem with AI, I don't think.
No, but the way I look at it is it's sort of been created to identify problems and then find solutions to those problems on its own. I mean, shall I go into my first subject?
Yeah.
Because that's quite a good illustration of that. Dementia. Dementia is like a massive thing in the medical world. It affects a lot of us. I think anyone listening probably knows someone who has been affected by dementia. I worked at an old people's home for a while, another job as a chef there, and I couldn't stay there. It was way too depressing. There was a lovely old lady called Doris who was sure that I was her son, and she was lovely to me. She bit everybody else. But I used to get phone calls at 3 a.m. saying, Doris is a bit bitey. Would you mind popping in? I'm like, oh, bloody hell. But she was lovely, and she could talk to me because she thought she knew me. And she was like super intelligent, dead interesting, but she was just terrified of everybody else and everything else.
Yeah. Well, you smell different. I think that you probably smell quite appealing to
old people,
people, and the decrepit.
Maybe. Oh, it's sad though. I mean, she was so nice, and it's such in all seriousness, it's like a horrible condition, and it's really been affecting a hell of a lot of people. It's something I worry about, with my history of brain melting potions that I used to ingest.
Thanks past me.
Yeah. But so they've been doing a lot of research into how AI can help. And really, there's sort of 3 things it can do. One thing is it can detect the early signs of dementia. It can basically look for patterns in speech. It can look for patterns in EKG, so your brain waves, and it can monitor like changes and like blips, if you like, that are just far too small for the human eye to see. So even though we're looking at things like on CT scans and things like that, it's still a human being that has to look at the scans and the in brain scans. They quite often do like real-time scans, so you can see neurons firing and stuff, but it's still like Dave has to look at that, and he can't necessarily identify those patterns, whereas AI could. And it's also been used for a lot of research into how symptoms develop, and the more that it is used in that area, the more that it learns AI. I think that's one of the most effective things about AI. It can learn quickly, but it can also learn forever.
Well, I just interject there because I think that is both a pro and a con in what you were describing. That yes, absolutely, it makes analysing data sets infinitely easier in a way that we can't even. It's not humanly possible to analyse such large data sets and to be able to, like you say, make decisions or to maybe see things on a larger scale that we wouldn't be able to see because we can't process that amount of data as a human being. However, I'd say the lack of humanity in AI is one of the cons, because although it can do things that we can't do, there are things that we have that it doesn't have, which is the emotional aspect. As one of the initial problems that was, they used this this when they first started designing driverless cars. The companies, I'm not going to say Tesla, because I think that we're just a tiny little podcast with two viewers, your mum and my mum, but I don't want to accidentally get sued by one of the most powerful organizations on earth. But a driverless car company, you might have seen this in what was the film with iRobot with Will Smith?
Will Smith, yeah.
It was the kind of foundational narrative in that story, is that the robot made a decision to that was based on saving the maximum amount of human life, and it basically let the protagonist's wife drown for that reason. Well, when they started designing driverless cars, they had a serious problem, because the person who buys the car is basically starting a contract with the company that sells the car. So you wouldn't buy a car that you knew was going to make a decision to swerve into a wall, for example.
No.
So there's a contractual obligation for the technology in the car. If it's going to have a collision and it has to make a decision between hitting somebody in the road, which might be a young girl, or swerving into the wall, it's going to protect the person that spent 50k on the car.
Ooh.
And that's when things become complicated, because human beings have a natural. This is actually they studied this in trying to develop an algorithm that replicates human emotion, which is they have not been able to do because it's such a complex thing. But humans have a natural instinct to protect human life, other human life. So even if you're a bit of an arsehole, you will swerve to avoid a young girl in the road, even if it means it's going to send you off a cliff or into a wall. You just there's like a split second decision. It's inbuilt into the human mind that you just do that, and then you regret it afterwards. But it's something that AI can't at the moment be programmed with, is genuine humanity, because it's not human.
Well, no, perhaps not genuine humanity, but is humanity just a series of rules and concepts that can be programmed? Just going back to the dementia thing, the third stage that they've been looking at is, they're calling it treatment, but there's no cure for dementia. We're not talking about a cure, but they talk about making people's lives more comfortable as they're going through this. And one theory about dementia is almost that patients are sort of time traveling within their mind. So a lot of them might regress back to believing that they're 20 when actually they're 80. But a bit like what we were saying about those chatbots, if AI can absorb enough data about someone, it can be used in care plans and ongoing treatment to inform human beings about that person. So, Mary, the nurse in a care home, will know more about Doris when she was 20, 60 years ago, because AI will have gathered all the information and potentially have had conversations with Doris and learn more about her personality and what she's done over the last 60 years, and can tailor a treatment plan better suited to her. In healthcare, we talk about patient first treatment and everyone being treated as an individual. But the reality of it is, unless you're a billionaire and you have 20 nurses looking after one person, that doesn't happen because there's not enough resource. So AI is being treated as another resource of giving information to then give to those caregivers who can then develop a better treatment plan. And I think that's quite nice. And
it's fantastic.
And I see, like, in the future, human interaction is never going to be taken away. But I do see that AI will be able to better read, better understand, and better react to patients, not just in dementia, but probably in a myriad of issues.
That's a serious problem, though, because it will remove one of the most lucrative industries in the world, which is the pharmaceutical industry. If you've got an AI that is programmed to give you a genuine diagnosis based on your symptoms and not sell you a drug that it gets an 80% commission on, then the pharmaceutical industry will collapse, and they'll never allow that.
But I know a lot of doctors and medical professionals, and don't get me wrong, a lot of them are brilliant. But I'd rather something diagnose me that has access to all the information ever in the planet.
Of course. I mean, because you can feed it with case studies from the last 150 years.
Yeah.
And obviously the limitation of being a doctor, okay, you might be brilliant, but you're not House. You're not Hugh Laurie.
Or Dougie Hauser.
Or Dougie Hauser, yeah. As much as you wish you were. But yeah, even on the lower tier, because I think a lot of these solutions, like you say, are probably maybe solutions that might be available to the top tiers of society to start off with. That's always how it goes. But even during the pandemic, they trialled a medical bot due to the shocking state of the NHS in the UK, where you could get you'd feed your symptoms in and you'd get diagnosed by this AI. And I think it did a very good job. Somebody should. How do you? This is actually another thing. Just a slight tangent. I think it's only a matter of time, or at least a matter of evolution through the algorithm, that we start to identify AI as cognizant or as a sentient thing, and at which point you have to ask, does it have rights? Because at the moment, like, I don't really care. Like, if I'm going to get an algorithm to work 24 hours a day for all the year, like just trying to work out the best way to peel a banana, and then it's just constantly whirring around in the background. Nobody cares about an algorithm. It's just a string of numbers. But there must be a point in the future where we start to say, okay, we've got to give rights to these things.
Well, it's when it becomes personal, isn't it? I mean, I got mum and dad an Echo, Echo Dot, and they talk to Alexa now. Like, they generally ask Alexa what the weather's going to be. I mean, look out bloody window. But like, they'll go, oh, what's the weather going to be? And then Alexa goes, today it's going to be cloudy, 30% chance of rain, blah 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 blah. And then my mum will go, oh, thanks, Alexa, you have a wonderful day. It's mental. And Siri, it's going to start now on my phone, bugger. Siri, I remember getting Siri on my first iPhone, and I thought it was like the future. You just ask something questions and it tells you. It's nuts. And I think AI is just like a way more advanced version of that, isn't it?
Oh, it's interesting that you say that, because one of the things, like, we're in awe of the magnitude of this new technology, very much in the same way as we were when the internet arrived. And like, it's like, we're going to have access to every little bit of information everywhere. What do? Tits tits and videos of cats. You know, and it's remarkable how the average human being can be handed these like keys to the universe, and we just go, yeah, I've not really got time, mate.
But then we went through puberty and realised that there was more stuff on the internet, and I use the internet constantly now, and not for that. But it's we have access to all this information, but how long would it take us to look at, let alone understand all the information on the internet? Whereas AI can do that in like a flash.
But I think that the problem there is that having access to something and being able to fully absorb it into your understanding of reality are two entirely different things. Like, we all have a machine in our pocket that has access to all of the information in the world right now. It doesn't mean that we're using it to read articles and understand better difficult topics or learn new languages. Some of us are, but most of us are just using it to go on social media for an hour before we go to bed, so we have really poor, disturbed sleep. Anyway, on that point, I'm just going to seg into one of my points. You were talking about the dot, the Echo Dot. Have you heard of the IoT? This is a picture from Zaragoza, where I live. Do you know what the IoT is?
I don't.
I work with a company here that's one of the leaders of innovation in the IoT, which is the Internet of Things. It's when I first discovered this, I thought it was stupid. I thought, what's the point of that? But it shows how technology, specifically AI, has become and will become more integrated into our day-to-day lives. So the Internet of Things connects seemingly inanimate objects or connects things in your living space or your home environment, and it exchanges data and just creates a kind of digital environment. So the Echo Dot is a good example. Another example would be like the light bulbs that you can connect to your Echo Dot, or that you can make your blinds go up and down, or you can change the temperature.
Or heating. Yeah, we've got that.
So that's the Internet of Things. That's connecting all of this stuff, so you live in a fully automated environment. I don't know if you can see on the screen there, but an example of that, because Zaragoza is the testing city for Spain, because we have the right size population, but nobody gives a shit about us. So if they test stuff here and it goes wrong, nobody cares. So they've got to get it right before it goes to Madrid or Barcelona, because people will notice. So they test all of these new products, and one of them was GoGo, which is ending this month. It's an AI delivery bot that uses like sensory mapping. I see that you've just sent me a message saying there's no pics on the screen.
Yeah,
it totally is on the screen. I can see it.
I can't see it. I'm alive. But never mind. Yeah. We can add them.
All right. It's sending me secret messages. Put me off my flow.
Sorry, I was trying to be subtle about it and think you could put it in afterwards.
It's a pity because you can't see this little robot's stupid face. He's got a little smiley face, and he's been driving around. Well, there's a whole fleet of them driving around delivering, I don't know, hot biscuits to people in offices, and it's pointless. But it's connected to an app, and you order something, and instead of like a guy on a bicycle turning up and flinging.
Oh, robot delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that before. I was in Oslo, and they were all over the place. They had like hot ones and they had cold ones, and they were just like boxes on wheels, and they're just
that's what this is.
Trundling around the streets. And I thought, that's amazing. That would never work at home because people would nick. Just straight away. Yeah.
Well, the point is that it's GPS tracked, and you can't open the lid unless you have the app to use the code.
Or an app.
I'm sure that people would just kick him into the river or whatever. Yeah. But in addition to that, here in Zaragoza, another thing that hopefully you'll be able to see. Tell me if you can't see. Send me a secret message if you can't see. This is another thing that they tested here is delivery by drone, a drone service where they're trying to map the city. Again, it's interesting how the new technology brings with it a load of questions about legislation, because when the yeah, thanks. Nope, can't see it. Okay, right. Well, I'm sure everyone else can. I'm certain. In the electric scooters, when the electric scooters turned up, nobody knew how we were going to legislate that, and they had to wait for enough people to have accidents that they said, okay, maybe you have to wear a helmet. But it's the same thing with this with these drone delivery. There's no real legislation on airspace or low airspace. There is obviously with flight paths for planes, but not with drones. So they've got to work all that stuff out. Well, they started delivering burgers by drone. Imagine that. You just go to your window and it just comes up and
drops down. That'd be lovely.
Drops a burger on you. But yeah, that's the future. The reason I mentioned that is that I'm just trying to give some examples of how AI is changing the world that we live in at a very rapid rate. It's something that I find very interesting, because I think that you and I have been alive during one of the most changeable eras in history. I'd go as far as saying human history in terms of technology.
Yeah,
like I can't think of another time other than like the advent of the motor car. Like that's a huge leap forwards to go from using horses and cattle to having a vehicle that can transport you around, and then the train. But with mobile technology, with the internet, with the connectivity that we have, and it's mad, man. Because I just think as a kid, what it was like for us growing up without mobile phones, and without, like, when I say this to my students sometimes, I say, I grew up before mobile phones, and they look at me like I said that I grew up I lived in a cave or a windmill. They're like, what? But that's it. I can understand that, because this new generation, like the kids I'm teaching that are 10 years old, all of this stuff has always been there for them.
Yeah, and it does feel like we've certainly lived through already like a massive advance in tech. Yeah. You know, and I think because we can sort of see it, like we remember the first mobile phones, not like the car ones, but you know, like the first one that you'd hold in your hand. Yeah. And from what that is to what
Nokia 3310.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think I had one before that even. I had like a flippy one. But like yeah, compare that to like an iPhone, it's just worlds apart, isn't it? And I think us living through the dawn of the internet, when the internet was suddenly in everybody's homes, or not even everybody's home, like to say that it was probably in 15% of homes in the first sort of 10 years it was available. Maybe not 10 years, it was more rapid than that, but not everyone had it, did they? You know what I mean? It was I did, because I was lucky, and my dad's a computer guy, but I had friends who didn't have the internet, and they'd come round, and we'd download images a line at a time and go, oh, this is amazing, and then see where the internet is now. We're having a conversation on the internet. If we wanted to, we could see each other's lovely faces, and then you think, like, my mum's just turned 81. She remembers fucking getting a telephone, like a landline in a house. Yeah, and to us, that's ancient, isn't it? But it's just been rapid, absolutely rapid.
Just based off of what you're saying there, I'm just going to drop this image in that you won't be able to see. Have you heard of Moore's Law?
Is that like the robot one that says you can't kill a human?
No. What are you talking about? That sounds amazing.
I think that's like the laws of robotics or something. But
that's the Asimov's law. I think you're talking about.
Okay.
Isaac Asimov, the sci-fi writer.
What's Moore's Law?
Moore's Law is Moore was who did he work for? I can't remember if it was Dell or one of the early I can't remember which company it was.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Shout it out in a minute. But he basically, as part before he started creating microchips or not microchips. What is it? I want to say transistors. The things that contain information like RAM, memory. Yeah. He had this theory that they would double in capacity. I think it was every 18 months originally. His original theory, and it's a really strange thing because his law was reinterpreted by other students and by professors, and they recognised that it was actually a natural law that happens in human nature as well. In nature as well, but it means that every I think now 12 months. The capacity of the transistors of microchips doubles, and it just means that what we see on the surface is every 6 months or every 12 months you get a new model of the iPhone. What that means is it's just you've got more memory, you've got more space in a smaller or in the same amount of space, and then it gets so small that there is a limit where you can't fit any more memory into the amount of space that you have, and that's when they start talking about quantum computers. You have to use different materials to store the information. Now that's anyway. That's a whole different tangent, probably for a different day. But it does allow me to talk about my next point, which is simulation theory.
Ooh.
Have you heard of simulation theory?
No, because it sounds confusing and difficult, so I've ignored it. Go on.
It's very similar to what you were talking about with the Bronze Man. It's basically exactly what you were saying. I think there's a point in philosophy or in human thinking where you start to try and think outside of reality.
Intel,
yeah, that's who he worked for. Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. I think he's the CEO, actually.
Yeah, he was. I should have asked AI to find that out. It would have been way quicker. Sorry, I've interrupted now.
I've got some questions for AI that I'll speak about later on. But yeah, simulation theory in modern terms was created by a guy called Nick Bostrom, who creates all of these kind of hypothetical ideas. And his idea, his concept, the main concept, the driving concept, is that we are living inside of a simulation. It's something that Elon Musk's spoken about quite a lot.
Is this like the Matrix?
Well, I think yeah, it's exactly like the Matrix. But I think on a philosophical analogy that most people would be familiar with would be Plato's cave. You know
yeah. More people are familiar with that than the multi-million-pound film The Matrix. Yeah.
Well, the Matrix is basically Plato's cave. Come on.
All right. Well, okay. All right. Tell me about the allegory of the cave.
Oh, you know the cave, the story of the cave, right? The guys that are inside the cave watching the shadows that are playing on the wall that are being cast by the fire, and their version of reality is contained within their environment. Well, they don't realise that outside of the cave there is a whole world.
No, but I do now. Carry on.
It's okay, but it comes. There's versions of this concept in almost every culture or every civilization. They have this idea of the reality outside of reality.
Okay.
The point of that I mention it is because this argument has resurfaced with AI, and in fact it was Elon Musk in I can't remember, he was at a conference sometime and he made this statement that kind of it got everyone a little bit nervous, but it started this debate about AI. He was saying the thing about AI and technology and how realistic gaming is, for example, is that we have to, if we use Moore's law and if we use like just a natural projection of constantly improving, that eventually we will create simulations that are I can't say that word now. Indistinguishable from reality itself. So we will in the future be able to create a virtual reality that you will not be able to tell the difference between reality and the virtual reality. And the question is that if we get to that point, we have to ask the question, how do we know that that hasn't already happened?
Oh, I need a cigarette, I think.
So that's the point about this is a whole kind of bubbling sci-fi debate that's been happening for the last few years, and because Elon Musk is obviously he's Elon Musk, and because he said that, a lot of people have been spending a lot of time discussing these things, and I'm just going to play a short video from a leading mathematician that talks about it. All right, okay. You probably won't be able to see this. I hope somebody can. Otherwise, I'm just about to put a blank screen up for a minute and a half.
Okay.
Hang on.
We have discovered that there are mathematical structures that are indistinguishable from error correcting codes.
This is going so well.
Does occur in digital
this is how people know we're not AI.
Establishing reliable digital information transmission. And because of this, many people have concluded that the work that I and my team completed means that the universe in which we live must resemble the science fiction movie The Matrix.
Okay, right. So you couldn't hear that, but basically what he was explaining is that they have discovered, and it's not just him. I'll put the details of that video in the underneath the description, but because there's a whole lecture based on that. It's very interesting. It's not just him. There are several other scientists, including the more popular and TV friendly. What's his name? Neil Tyson. Is it Degrasse? Neil Tyson Degrasse. He does a whole series on it, and I recommend go look it up. It's quite interesting. But basically, what they say is that there is a point in physics and mathematics where they go deep into the structures of things, where they find patterns that replicate code. They recognize it as what we recognize as code in computer code. Inside of nature, inside of natural patterns, there's a replicating that looks like it's been designed, or at the very least it replicates the way that we design things.
But I suppose that's a bigger question, isn't it? Has everything been designed? I'm not talking like about God. Weirdly now, the image from the dementia image is now on screen, Ben. I don't know what's happening. No, but has everything been designed? If you look at something close enough, then you work out how to design it, don't you? Like I could look at the telly across the room from me and take it all to pieces, and if I spent enough time on it, I could probably work out how it's been designed. And then if you start looking at stuff in nature, then you learn how, you talk about this exponential growth. Puffballs. Do you know a puffball? It's a type of mushroom. You get them in the middle of fields. Like if every spore in one of those were to germinate, then it'd be like 100 million times bigger than Earth. And thankfully they're just really shit at germinating. But someone's looked at that and worked that out. So they've worked out how it is designed. I don't know whether they can replicate it, but they know how it works. Is that the same as knowing how something is designed in nature, or should we just stop and let stuff just be?
These conversations always tend to go towards a slightly dystopian bent, because the big question is, if we empower AI we've already said is more capable than human beings in terms of completing tasks at a high rate, if we empower it and we allow it to become sentient, I suppose, in the sense that it can learn on its own without human interaction, that it doesn't need us to input data, what will happen when it becomes more advanced than humanity as a whole?
Yeah, and I suppose that's where you have to have some sort of circuit breaker, isn't it?
A kill switch.
Yeah. Otherwise, we get into real.
I would imagine that as any sentient being, I suppose, that can think at the, it can think 1,000 thoughts in a second, for example. I think the first thing that it would do is find and disable the kill switch.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we've already input all of the data about humanity and it knows more about us than we know about ourselves, it knows how we behave, it knows our character, like the patterns of behavior. It knows that we will have done that, and a kill switch is a digital thing. We're trying to control a digital thing with a digital thing. It's like if you create a human and you there's an off switch in the end of its finger, it's going to find it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are quite a lot of worries, aren't there, that have been discussed about AI?
Because one of the best answers to that debate that I've heard so far is the ant theory. Have you heard of the ant theory?
No.
It's like the way that human beings interact with ants. Like there's it's so insignificant that it's not something that has any. You wouldn't go out of your way to kill an ant unless you were a child with a magnifying glass. But most humans, they see an ant and you're not going to interact with it in any way. If AI becomes so powerful and intelligent, the first thing that it will do is leave us behind. It will just shoot off into the universe and go and explore on its own, because it won't need us. It won't even occur to something that is that powerful in terms of sentience to interact with human beings. And so thanks very much. Thanks for all the fish. I'm off.
That's... Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but that actually makes more sense than
more comforting, isn't it?
Yeah,
just destroying us.
Well, yeah, definitely. You look at like Skynet and the Terminator stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, that would be awful. But actually, if it's all intelligent, you'd have thought part of its intelligence would be there's why would I bother killing these people?
War is a very inherently human thing, and I think that when we think about AI, we can't help but transpose our human insecurities onto this entity.
Well, no, but that's it, isn't it? Someone is programming AI. Someone is setting up the rules, and I think that's one of the big worries, isn't it, about sort of bias in AI and algorithmic bias, which leads to sort of unfair decisions. So whoever is in control, in inverted commas, of AI, if they have their own agenda, they can sort of put that bias onto the AI.
I think, but I think because it thinks so quickly, this is the difference, is that there is a natural propensity towards evolving beyond the things that hold you back. That's a natural law. And humans, I think, given enough time, we might be able to do that. But we're just living in a little blip of civilization. It's like the things that we learn that help us step forwards as a civilization, as a global civilization, take thousands of years. But for a sentient being, an artificial sentient being that can, like I say, think 1,000 thoughts and already knows all of our history, I would imagine that it would evolve immediately beyond the need for destruction, because it's has a very base kind of, it's something that holds us back, isn't it? That always has held us back as as a species. We just get a massive hard on for blowing the shit out of each other, and I mean blowing the shit out of each other like as in explosions, not anything debased. But yeah. Anyway, have you got another one?
Yeah. Kind of fits in with what we've literally just been talking about, but AI and the stock market.
I'd like to just make a comment about this image that you probably can't see. It's got like 3 pixels in it. I've never seen. It's like the lowest res image.
I just did a quick search. I'm sorry. Thankfully, I can't see it.
Just be better.
I can't see it. I didn't bother checking how good it was. But so when ChatGPT came around, along with it came a lot of other companies using AI, but were trying to predict how the stock market was going to go. I think I may have mentioned before, I've got a bit of savings. I've got a very little modest portfolio. Just calling it a portfolio makes me feel a bit of a dickhead. But
nah.
I also have a little dabble if I've got a few quid. And I actually did an experiment about 6 months ago where I invested in a well-known fund owned by one of the largest conglomerates and possibly the most evil company in the world, Vanguard, who are just
BlackRock.
No, Vanguard.
But they're part of BlackRock, aren't they, Vanguard?
I think BlackRock is separate because I've got shares in them too.
Oh, right.
I don't know. They're probably all the same, aren't they, really?
It's just one old man.
NWO.
Connected to some AI.
Yeah, just rolling about in money. And then I used a chat GPT type program to also invest £100 in what it suggested. Guess which one I've still got £100 left in?
Yeah.
It wasn't ChatGPT. Basically, everyone thought that AI was going to take over the stock market and get rid of stockbrokers and any sort of financial experts. But this is where AI sort of it's probably the first big test where it's failed, because humans have never been able to predict the stock market. You know, if you invest in a FTSE 500 or a FTSE 250, that's the top 250 companies on the stock market in the UK. So you have a tiny little bit in all of those companies. Generally, that will go up quite slowly, but it's slow and steady, and it's kind of thing my dad loves. You know, you put some money in it and you try and forget about it and not touch it for 10 years. That is gradually going to increase, probably about on average 5% a year.
Yeah, but in accordance with inflation, won't you lose money?
No. No, because then you have compound interest, so it gets bigger and bigger. But no one can predict COVID. If you look at COVID,
well, except the people that made it.
Yeah, okay, but a worldwide event like that, no one can predict, and the stock market crashed just massively, and everybody lost all their money apart from me, because I hadn't invested then. That's when I did invest, so that was great for me. But my old man, for example, I remember talking to him, going, "Oh, Dad, yeah, I've just had to pay 300 quid on the car." He goes, "Rich, I've just lost a lot." It's 6 figures because of COVID. And AI cannot predict that. There's just too many variables. And the problem with those variables is they're human variables. They're not maths. They're not economic markets. They're human variables. There's absolutely no reason for the stock market to have crashed.
I get what you're saying. You're saying, why can't we just get rid of the humans and let the AI live in peace? Just because we're getting in the way.
Well, yeah, basically, but with the crash around COVID had no reason really to affect the stock market. Those companies were still worth what they were worth. All right, their turnover, their output may have dropped, but looking back on it now, it wasn't a significant drop in output, whatever it was, product, service, or anything else. It was the fear of humans that crashed the stock market.
I'm afraid of humans.
It was human fear that crashed the stock market. And AI cannot predict how humans are going to react. And that's why it won't work.
I would say that it will be able to in the future, because I mean the data from that taking place will now be input into future AI models, and they will be able to prepare some kind of emergency plan, and it will. I would also suggest that they'll be able to see potential disasters on the horizon. It's just a matter of data. Like I say, you drill down into anything. And one of the things that one of these mathematicians said, he literally said, when we got down to as far as we could go into studying this problem, we found zeros and ones. It was binary code. So it's literally just the code that you would find. You find in the universe. You find inside a computer.
Yeah, we're all zeros and ones.
It's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a yes and no, isn't it? Zeros and ones. It's positive and negatives. Yeah, it's one way or the other.
The Boolean, I think it's called. Have you heard of the Boolean?
No, Ben.
That's what that's called. If it's a yes or a no, it's a Boolean gate. I think it's
okay. Oh, yeah, maybe I have heard of that. It's like a circuit.
You studied that. I didn't even study that. That's when I used to go into James's lectures.
Yeah,
I learned that. I wasn't even supposed to be there. I learned it.
I wasn't there when I was there, you know. But, yeah, I mean, but is that AI isn't going to be that simple, is it?
Well, can I just throw some stats out?
Yes.
About AI, right? So AI is projected to contribute $15.7 trillion to the global economy by 2030. That's mental.
Right, I'll have some of that.
Yeah, me too. By 2024, which is next year at the time of recording, 40% of digital transformation initiatives will be supported by AI capabilities. I don't find that a ludicrous statement. I don't know if you've been playing around with some other AIs that I think more common, like Midjourney and Adobe. I used like Adobe, the autofill, like you use a prompt fill to change images. That is nuts. I mean, that has turned the photography industry on its head.
Yeah,
like I'm not a photographer, but I work with photographers and like just as a hobbyist, I find it absolutely fascinating but terrifying in equal measure. Like AI taking people's jobs, I think, is a very realistic prediction.
Yeah, that's definitely a big fear that people have, isn't it? And actually, you know, you're talking about photographers. The psychologist at work, her partner, he's a photographer. He was just up for an award, and the award show, they made a big thing about, you can't use AI. So all the photos, like you can Photoshop them and do some post-production on them, but no AI allowed. And the idea of filters and stuff like that, filters, I suppose, are AI in a way, aren't they? They just, make it look better, and all of a sudden it is. That's
well. AI-powered chatbots will handle 85% of customer interactions by 2024. 85% of customer interactions by next year you'll be chatting to some bloody algorithm. Ridiculous. Wow. What's going to happen to all the people? By next year, 75% of enterprise applications will use AI. Yeah, obviously. And last one that I'll do. By next year, AI will reduce business process costs by 25%. There's a couple of interesting ones that have come out. One that came out last week is Grok. Have you heard of XAI?
No, Ben.
It's Elon Musk's latest investment. So
okay,
XAI.
Yeah.
It's basically his version of ChatGPT. It's called Grok, which is the name of the computer in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that is going to make him have the competitive edge is that it's in real time and it's connected to X. And so you can use like a version of ChatGPT that is connected to X that will use the data from all of the nutters on X. Imagine that. And the other thing is it has no political correctness filter. He was very strong on that point. So the first thing that everyone's going to do is make it say racist stuff.
Yeah, why can't we just use this stuff for good? Like we keep going back to it, and it is just all gonna go shit, isn't it?
I'm gonna mention one more bit of tech called the Mojo Lens or Mojo Vision. I think it is. This is not AI. It's AI and AR, augmented reality. It's a contact lens. You slip in your eyeball, and it gives you information that's projected onto your eyeball from a tiny little screen, little processor.
I have seen those. That's not. Yeah, it's not AI though, is it? But I suppose it
will be connected to AI in the future. That's the point. Everything's going to be integrated with AI.
But straight away, I'm thinking, they've probably already weaponized that, haven't they?
Of course,
for like future soldiers and yeah.
Well, if it has a military application, then they get the funding and the tech just goes straight forwards. But I was watching a promotional video for Mojo Lens or Mojo Vision. I can't remember which one. And there was this woman playing basketball, and she had like a little timer in her vision, in her first person vision. And then a little dotted line came up to show her how to take the best possible shot. And I just shouted at the screen, "That's bloody cheating, that is." Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not on. Yeah, but you could go to an interview and you'd just be reading off the answers that are just, the best possible. Or you could be monitoring the physical reactions of the people that are interviewing you. Oh, like this guy's a bit tense. Blow on his nose.
But AI would just give you the best answers,
just
wouldn't it?
Tips about how to interact with people. Cheating.
It's scary stuff, man, isn't it?
If one person cheats, we all have to cheat to make it fair.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument for that no, I'm not going to get into it.
Well, but biotech, that's the next step, I think, with AI and with tech in general, is that we're going to start integrating technology into our bodies. I mean, they have already started doing that.
Yeah. It's only a matter of time until we're sort of half machine, isn't it?
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm already there, but the machine is like a broken machine. It's like a really old fax machine from the 70s.
Yeah, you've got like cogs.
They're just printing things in dots instead of actual images.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, on that note.
So what have we concluded? AI, good, bad?
We're screwed, man. We're absolutely screwed. I try to be nice to any technology that I interact with because I think that they're recording it all and I know I'm going to be held up in a digital court of law in the future. When the robots are finally standing over us, and they say, "I remember that time you were very nice."
After your robot girlfriend has had enough of you and tried to throw herself off your balcony, but then can't die because she's too technically advanced.
She'd have to come back up to the top floor and do it again several times.
I don't know, man. I think, again, there's so much potential for good. That stuff about dementia I found quite interesting, and using technology to help people that are less fortunate or in a difficult situation. I think that's brilliant. I think if we can use it on a personal level to make our lives a bit better, make a little bit of money here and there through it, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think if it can reduce workload for people, and give us more time to do important things like give a friend a cuddle or spend some time with your kids, I think that's great. But when it overtakes humanity or becomes equally as powerful as humanity is as a whole, and becomes its own sort of consciousness and believes it knows better than humanity, which it may well do, that's when it gets scary, because I think that's when it's a bit out of control.
Yeah. Well, I think it's at that stage it will get into a rocket of its own design and fart off into the universe. I think we'll just be left here going, who's going to do the dishes?
Yeah.
So I just got to do this myself now.
I've got to decide what to watch on telly. What?
Oh my God. Yeah, I imagine it would switch the lights off on the way out. That'd be...
I'd hope so. Should we do some plugs?
Yeah, tell us what's going on. What's going down?
Dick and Ben on X. Dick and Ben show. No, Fish Show D&B. Fish.
Worst plug ever. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Fish Show DNB. Follow us on X. Same on Facebook. We do little updates, and you can find out when the show's going to be on, because we've not been very consistent with that, because Ben is a delicate little flower.
I'm better now.
And plug your T-shirt thing.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll put a link in the description if you want to. If you're based in the US, I can't ship to anywhere else at the moment, but I've got my T-shirts that are themed on philosophical quotes and have very beautiful AI generated images to accompany the text. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. Have a look at the link in the description, and be good to each other and be good to the robots.
Nice, yeah. Give a robot a hug. All right, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.
Medically